So is sleep with the thunder.
Hi everyone, I'm Valentine. Oh! Okay, that didn't work. Moving on. Oh, the 2000s. What a time to grow up. Never you will see such the amount of gothic and morally ambiguous cartoons on television. And as a kid who grew up with heavy interest in all the strange and macabre, there was no better time to be alive. Billy and Mandy were particularly special to me, since it was my introduction to cynicism and dark humour. So let's pay attention and try to read between the lines to see if we can get something meaningful out of this. Shall we?
If you've been paying attention, it's because you're a nerd with nothing better to do.
I'm not a nerd. Moving on! The grim adventures of Billy and Mandy follows the antics of two eccentric and lonely children, Billy the stupid one and Mandy the cynical one. In a spoof of the 1950s film The Seventh Seal, the Grim Reaper loses a bet to the duo, in which he promises he'll be their best friend for ever and ever. From here on out, the show embarks on a journey to corrupt the innocent but stupid setting of suburbia through supernatural and cynical themes. Make more horror references that even I can name, and of course make fun of everything creepy related like Cthulhu, zombies, and goths. Especially goths.
Dear Diary, no one feels pain as deeply as I do. No one suffers like I do. I am different.
The show at its core is a dark comedy, since most of the episodes seem to end in one of two different notes. Either A, the episode seems to end on a grim note of utter despair, or B, a cautionary tale that also ends in a lot of pain and despair. And since the main objective of dark comedy is to make fun of pain, it makes sense the show loves mocking death, torture, mental illness, and every part of suffering that is vital to the existence of human beings. Or as Lord Byron would put it, the great art of life is sensation, to feel that we exist, even in pain. As the show doesn't try to bum us out through darkness, but to accept it as a natural part of life, and instead of focusing on our sense of doom, to just laugh at how ridiculous death would be if he was an actual person. Which brings me to my next point. While the show enjoys its own macabre nature, it also makes a case of the psychological need of belongingness, mostly through Grimm. Even from the beginning, it's shown that Grimm seeks to form emotional connections with other beings and be a part of something. He pretends to be a child in order to be accepted and loved, tries to establish a relationship with a goth woman, he joins a group of Swiss nuns, Mindy's gang, and a rock band, and even develops a form of attachment to Billy and Mandy to the point of replacing them when they're not around. And this would make sense since the need of belongingness, according to psychologist Abraham Maslow, in his hierarchy of needs, the need for interpersonal relationships outweighs respect, status, and even freedom. Which also applies to most of the reoccurring antagonists in the show, since at their core, most seem to long for some form of acceptance that can only be found on others. And this even goes to Billy and Mandy themselves, even though both represent different sides of the spectrum. Billy is open to the idea of seeking a friend on pretty much anyone, since he feels lonely. And Mandy, on the other hand, seems to present forms of emotional dependency on Billy. Even though she is incapable of maintaining a healthy relationship, Billy seems to be the only person she feels genuinely attached to, since she actively seeks his company, comforts him, and even allows physical contact with him. And by the way, I found this fan art on Pinterest the other day, and it's so cute! Sorry, that has nothing to do with the video. Moving on! Oh, the old old battle between idealism and realism, coming all the way from ancient Greece to haunt my poor understanding of things even to this day. To put it simple, idealism for the most part states that the mind is the foundation for our perception, and that in application, ideals are more important than reality, and that we should strive to bring to life our ideas of a perfect world. This could be seen as our own way to incorporate abstract imaginary concepts to the real world, such as laws, moral codes, justice,
mercy, duty, that sort of thing,
etc. While realism tells us that reality exists independently of our own minds, and it's our job to understand and act accordingly if we want to get anything done. But going away from the realm of human understanding and into a practical application, in the real world with real people, it comes to two conundrums. Should we hold people up to the standards of what we want them to be, or just accept their flawed nature and act accordingly if change is even possible? Most shows nowadays seem to fall for the first one. But Billy and Mandy argues that this way of thought is not only impractical, but dangerous. And no episode reflects this better than The Crass Unicorn, in which the trio travels to an enchanted forest where everything seems to be perfect until they discover Mary Frances, a unicorn that refuses to be happy no matter what. Billy, unable to accept that this idealistic perfect paradise has at least something wrong with it, tries to change Mary Frances into his own perception of what a happy unicorn should be in order to make her fit. Not because he cares for her, but because he wants his ideals come to life. And in the end, this not only proves to be futile since they find even more imperfections with the forest, but the show punishes Billy so hard to the point of leaving him abandoned in this land. And it doesn't stop with just one episode. Billy seems to have pretty unrealistic views of friendships due to his favourite show. Jeff idolises what a dad should be. Erwin stalks Mandy under the presumption that one day she'll fall for him. And they all seem to pay a price for these views. This doesn't mean that being idealistic is bad, but when these thoughts overshadow reality, they become delusions. Or as philosopher Ayn Rand will put it, we can evade reality, but we cannot evade the consequences of evading reality. The main idea is that trying to change people, instead of accepting them for who they are, for better or for worse, leads to suffering, and that life is not, nor should be, a perfect TV show. And trying to compare ourselves to these standards is ridiculous, yet it be love, family, or friends. If we fail to accept the reality of our surroundings, the result will always be pain. Lots and lots of it. So that's about it. Do you think I'm wrong and an utter waste of space? Anyway, that's about it. See you soon!
Well, I know